Oh, hello friends. I was just reading. Before we get started, let's chat a while. Have a drink. If you don't already know, I'm creating a dress based off the birthstone of the month. This month, it's diamonds. I contemplated what I was gonna do. I thought about it. And one day while I was in the bathtub, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a beautiful picture of Zendaya. Zendaya was at a premiere and I don't know where, but insert it here. And I saw it and I was like, that looks so beautiful. I want to create something like that. And a few days later, I saw a picture of Grace Kelly, and this was the reference photos. And I love vintage fashion. I love vintage clothes. So I decided to combine both. Kind of leans more towards 80s Dynasty vibes. I'm having like this core memory of somebody in Dynasty wearing a dress very similar. So I'm probably just stealing. Without further ado, let's get on to the video. Cheers. That tastes like no. On the video. So yeah, get warm, get cozy. We're gonna be here for a minute, but not too long because I took hours of video footage and just shrunk it down. So as you can see right now I'm starting, and I took my fabric and I just pressed it against my skirt to see where it should start, where it should end, and I'm just cutting to form. I basically started with a tube for the skirt, and then I pinned it onto the mannequin, and I also folded it in a way at the very front because you'll see towards the end, middle, probably the middle, because this is the skirt. I wanted a ruching effect in the front. I wanted it to look like it was this drape that goes over the shoulder, but also like comes down into like the front part of the skirt, like it was all one thing. When I forced my mother to try this on for me, we did it at my sister's birthday, and my dad was like, oh my god, it looks like the Statue of Liberty. And you know what? Fair. Very fair. I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, it looks a lot like the Statue of Liberty. Fun story about this fabric. When I was trying to figure out what type of fabric to get, because if you watched last month's birthstone video, Aquamarine, I bought this beautiful, shiny, sparkly material, and it shed so much, like a small dog. It shed all over, and there was glitter, and there still is glitter. I still find glitter a month later in my apartment. But yeah, I didn't want that. So I found this heavier, sadly, I didn't want it to be this heavy, but it's a pretty heavy dress. This heavier silver fabric that's, I actually found it in Joann's in the like super cosplay section. I was gonna call it the superhero section, which wouldn't be too far off. I found it in the cosplay section. And I was like, you know what? This is the best I'm gonna find that's shiny and sparkly and pretty and doesn't shed. So here we are. Right now, I am working on the bodice of the dress. This dress is very special to me because it is the very first time I create boning. I created the corset part of this dress to look like a Playboy bunny's top, basically. It was kind of accidental, but I love it, and I love Playboy. The idea of Playboy, not like never actually opened or read a magazine, but they're not really for reading anyways. So what you see me doing here is taking some masking tape because I don't have fabric tape, and I'm just taping it onto my mannequin and mapping out where I'm going to cut the fabric, and then I'm pinning the fabric on top of it, and I'm marking it off, cutting it, and then I take it to the sewing machine and I just sew it all together all the way around, leaving the back open so that way I can create a zip. I can input a zipper from the top all the way to the bum of the dress. Again, I am editing this video towards the very end of the month, like literally the last week. In less than 5 days, it's the end of the month, and this video needs to go out at the end of the month, the last day of the month. I am pressed for time. I am working on this. I'm working on another costume for an exhibit. There's a lot on my plate, but I'm having a lot of fun right now. Okay, so I had to make a lot of phone calls today, so I had to use my phone, and that's what I used to record. So I did a lot of sewing, off camera. You guys saw me sew this part, and then the only part you didn't see was me sew this together. I know it doesn't look like a lot now. I also sewed this off camera. This is just something like a beautiful, off the shoulder thing that I want to happen. But I didn't know how it was gonna work, so I pinned it and I sewed it together at the bottom. And I tried very hard to pleat it in such a way that when I sew it together, it's gonna look like it's together, if that makes sense. Look at that. But to hide this ugly seam here, it's just so ugly. This is also, this fabric just turned up inside out. I'm gonna sew it, flip it inside out, and it's gonna go right here. And it's gonna cover up that ugly seam, you know? So it's gonna look kind of like this. God, look at me. Look at me go. Okay, so I'm gonna sew this really quick and sew this to it. Come along. And now I'm doing exactly what I just said. I am sewing that nice little waist ribbon to hide that, what would you even call that? That over the shoulder scarf thingy? Let's call it that. I'm sewing on that nice waist ribbon to cover the seam of the over the shoulder scarf thingy. Wow, I am such a professional, clearly. And I sewed it all the way around. And then I decided my outfit was not good enough, so I decided to change my clothes and start putting in boning. Just kidding, it was a brand new day. But I did decide to start putting in boning because I reached a moment where I realized if I don't have any structure in the bodice, boobies will just fly out, and I couldn't have that happen, not to my dear mother. So I'm putting in boning. And you know what the specialist part, that special is not a real word, the specialist part about this moment was that I decided to be a man in America, and I decided I can do anything. So I just bought boning, read the directions on how to put in the back, then I did not do any more research. I just went for it. I didn't YouTube it. I just read it was 3 steps on the package, which, let me tell you, if it came with more steps, I probably would have done a better job. I did a very poor job sewing in this boning, but you know what? I'm proud of myself because it's the first time I did it. And then I folded over the top and I hemmed the top to make it nice and flush. But I also hit another issue. I stretched this fabric because remember, it's that cosplay fabric. So I stretched it, and what happened when I stretched it? It created this warping thing at the top. So I had to pin it again, sew it tighter, and make a bunch of modifications that I did not show on camera because this video, originally, before I cut out a lot of fat, was over 28 minutes long. You're welcome. I made it a lot shorter. So I love my mother so much, to the moon and back, but I realized that she is not gonna give me and support me in my creative endeavors the way I need someone to support me. So I need to find another model because I realized my mother is not the type of woman, because she's a busy woman. She has 2 kids who lives under her roof. Not me, I don't live at home anymore. 2 kids that live under her roof. My dad, full-time job. She's busy. I get it. So she doesn't have the time to do her hair and makeup and model for me. So I'm gonna have to find another model soon so I can take them somewhere, they can model my dress, do a whole photo shoot, and maybe we get drunk. That's the dream. So maybe next month I'll have another model. But right now I am, what am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm doing. I am hemming the skirt at the very bottom. I hemmed the skirt, and this was the very last step. This is the last step you should do, which also signifies the very end of our video. Stay tuned for some screenshots of my mama and me, my beautiful mama and me, and then join me as I take a few videos of my mannequin Barbara somewhere beautiful. Haven't decided where yet, but you'll see.